The 80th United Nations General Assembly was anything but ordinary. The world watched as Pakistan's Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, took the podium and delivered a long, dramatic tirade against India, painting his country as a victim of aggression, glorifying his military, and trying to rewrite the narrative of recent events. Every word was calculated, every claim wrapped in theatrics, as he sought to portray India as the aggressor and Pakistan as the moral authority. But the story didn't end there. In the very same session, India's External Affairs Minister, Jaishankar, rose to speak. Calm, composed, and unwavering, he delivered a masterclass in diplomacy and truth. In just 2 minutes, he dismantled Sharif's narrative, exposing Pakistan as the epicenter of global terrorism and bringing decades of state-sponsored terror into the spotlight. From cross-border attacks like the Pahalgam massacre to the overwhelming presence of Pakistani nationals on UN terror lists, Jaishankar left no claim unchallenged. He didn't just respond. He held Pakistan accountable in front of the entire world, demanding that nations unequivocally condemn state-sponsored terrorism, choke terror financing, and pressure the entire terror ecosystem. His warning was clear. Those who condone terror will face consequences no matter their political or military posturing. In this video, we break down every moment of this high-stakes exchange, the claims, the counterclaims, the facts, and the global implications. From Pakistan's self-aggrandizing rhetoric to India's factual, evidence-backed response, we'll explore how in just 2 minutes, Jaishankar turned the tables and made the world see the truth. Pakistan's Prime Minister opened with a tale of aggression and heroism. He claimed that in May this year, Pakistan faced unprovoked attacks from India on its eastern front. The enemy, he said, approached shrouded in arrogance. But Pakistan's armed forces allegedly repulsed the attack with precision. 7 Indian jets, he boasted, were turned to scrap and dust. A decisive response, he declared, that will echo through the annals of history. He honored the sacrifices of soldiers and martyrs' families, invoking their courage and vowing that their efforts would never be in vain. Pakistan, he claimed, agreed to a ceasefire thanks to the bold and visionary leadership of then U.S. President Donald Trump. He praised Trump's role in preventing a wider war, even nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Had his intervention not been timely, the consequences would have been catastrophic, he said. He also expressed gratitude to other nations: China, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Azerbaijan, Iran, UAE, and the UN Secretary General for diplomatic support. "We have won the war and now seek to win peace," he said. Pakistan stands ready for a composite, comprehensive, and result-oriented dialogue with India on all outstanding issues. Yet while calling for peace, he issued veiled threats over water rights, declaring any violation as an act of war. He stressed that Pakistan condemns terrorism, but reminded the world of its own sacrifices in fighting it, citing over 90,000 lives lost and $150 billion in economic damage over 2 decades. He concluded by emphasizing Pakistan's readiness for dialogue, proactive leadership in South Asia, and its insistence on defending the inseparable rights of 240 million people to vital resources. Then, with unshakable composure, Dr. S. Jaishankar addressed the Assembly. "Madam President, while asserting our rights, we must also firmly face up to threats," he began. He explained that terrorism embodies intolerance, violence, and fear, and that India has confronted this menace since independence. He reminded the world that major international terrorist attacks have repeatedly been traced to Pakistan, and that UN-designated terrorist lists are filled with its nationals. The most recent tragedy, the Pahalgam tourist massacre in April this year. India exercised its right to defend its citizens and bring the perpetrators to justice. "Terrorism is a shared threat," Jaishankar said. "When states openly declare terrorism as policy, when terror hubs operate on an industrial scale, and when terrorists are publicly glorified, the international community must act." He urged the choking of terror financing, sanctioning of perpetrators, and relentless pressure on terror networks. Those who condone nations that sponsor terror will find it comes back to bite them. We remain determined to protect our people and secure their interests at home and abroad. Jaishankar's message was unmistakable. zero tolerance for terrorism, robust defensive borders, and safeguarding Indians worldwide. Later, Pakistan's representative addressed the assembly. He accused India of state-sponsored terrorism at home and abroad, of oppression in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and of violating international law. He claimed that India's alleged actions included civilian killings, violations of water treaties, and persecution of minorities. He highlighted supposed injustices against Muslims, Christians, and Dalits, citing Gujarat, Delhi, and Manipur. He also accused India of Islamophobia institutionalized in law and of spreading violence abroad through proxy groups. Jammu and Kashmir is not and has never been an integral part of India, he asserted. The people of Jammu and Kashmir deserve justice, dignity, and freedom, which they shall have one day. They claimed India had become a factory of disinformation, that it nurtured terror networks both at home and across the region. Jammu and Kashmir was portrayed as a land under occupation. Proxies like TTP, BLA, and Majid Brigade were accused of spreading violence, targeting civilians, and turning schools and places of worship into sites of bloodshed. The accusations were severe. India allegedly escalated tensions despite global calls for dialogue, violated humanitarian treaties, hoarded water resources, and even practiced systemic discrimination against minorities. Gujarat, Manipur, Delhi. Words like massacre, lynching, displacement were invoked to paint a picture of a nation failing its people. But the story did not end there. For every claim, a deeper truth awaited, a truth hidden behind speeches and headlines. When India's representative rose to respond, the tone was calm but resolute. Each accusation was met with evidence. Pakistan's history of terrorism was laid bare, sheltering Osama bin Laden, operating terror camps, and shielding organizations responsible for massacres of innocent civilians in Indian territories. The images of destroyed terror complexes, Bahawalpur and Meridke, spoke louder than words, exposing the networks Pakistan glorified. India's response highlighted a crucial truth. When threats loomed, India acted, not to provoke, but to defend. Pakistani threats ended only after precise strikes neutralized terror bases, forcing even Pakistan's military to seek a ceasefire. The pictures of damaged runways and burnt hangars told a story that Pakistan's words could not. India's resolve and defensive strength. The nation's message was clear. Terrorism will not be tolerated. Planners and perpetrators alike will be held accountable. Nuclear threats cannot silence justice. Peace is only possible when terror ends and accountability is enforced. The truth became unmistakable. India had always stood for peace and dialogue. Pakistan, meanwhile, continued to glorify violence and distort reality on the international stage. India's restraint was not weakness. It was proof of its strength. Its patience was not submission. It was the courage of a nation committed to protecting its citizens. The voice of India at the UN resonated with pride and clarity. The nation will defend its people, uphold justice, and confront falsehoods head-on. Its identity is not shaped by accusations or international theater, but by its actions, principles, and protection of the innocent. The world may attempt to twist narratives, cast shadows, and spread doubt, but truth shines brighter than any lie. India will continue to speak, to defend, and to lead, with courage, confidence, and unwavering resolve. And as it stands at the crossroads of history, one question echoes through every hall and every heart. If a nation refuses to bow to terror, refuses to compromise on truth, and refuses to abandon its people, who can truly stop it?